It's pretty hard to find an effective talking point against proposed government spending on infrastructure when the vast majority of Americans, including Republican voters, favor it. It's even harder to make it seem like creating 2.7 million jobs, adding those jobs to the economy is somehow a bad thing. But Fox and Friends tried. So let me set this up for you a little bit because it's important to know the context under which this conversation started. And it had to do with the fact that Pete Buttigieg, who yes, is the current Secretary of Transportation, tried to clarify during an interview with Chris Wallace that he had misspoken about how many jobs would be created under Biden's infrastructure plan. Buttigieg had to walk back comments he previously made that the bill would lead to 19 million jobs. An expected post-pandemic economic boom should lead to 16.3 million jobs in the next few years, which means the infrastructure bill will be responsible for creating 2.7 million additional jobs. So look, let's also be honest about the fact that Buttigieg did a terrible job in messaging, and he needs to be precise in his messaging, because had he been precise, Fox and Friends wouldn't have an opportunity to do the segment that we're about to show you. He did misspeak. But nonetheless, listen to them try to downplay the addition of 2.7 million jobs as a result of Biden's proposed infrastructure bill. Take a look.
Would you agree that you and the president and Brian Deese, the economic advisor on this program last week, you all exaggerated the jobs impact? You're the one who cited Moody's Analytics as 19 million, and it's actually 2.7 million, which is a bunch, but it's not what you said.
It's part of a scenario that Moody's says will create 19 million jobs. But the bottom line is it's going to add jobs. And this is a direct refutation of people who are saying otherwise. So yeah, you're right. I should be very precise. The difference in jobs that particular analysis suggests is 2.7 million more. That is a great place to be.
So not as many jobs as they promised. If the economy is already going to create 16 million, this is only going to create, what do you say, 2.7?
Plus, we got the jobs number last week, and it was the economy added 900,000 jobs. Normally, a president would be rushing to the microphone to talk about, look how great the economy is going. But Joe Biden didn't do that because it would screw up his argument. Hey, we need to pass this $2 trillion next thing.
By the way, Cenk, I want to also note that it's not just conservatives who are pushing that talking point about how we don't need the infrastructure bill. We don't need to create jobs because the economy is already improving on its own. So we don't need those, well-paying jobs that would actually be better for Americans as opposed to what we're experiencing now, which is, the same, job creation that was bragged about during the Trump administration. Low-quality jobs, low-paying jobs, jobs where people cannot actually put food on the table for their children or pay their rent, even if they're working full time. What we're talking about with the infrastructure bill is proposed jobs that would be created with renewable energy in mind. So these would be long-lasting jobs. Yes, there would be some construction jobs as well, since this has to do with building the country's infrastructure. But it's just hilarious to watch them try to downplay the creation of 2.7 million quality jobs that would be created under this proposal.
I know that when I say Democrats suck at politics, a lot of people out there think like, oh yeah, I mean, well, what would you know? They're the elites. They have all the status. There's cabinet secretaries and they're congresspeople and senators. And we're told by the mythology of America that means they merited it and they were wonderful, specially, incredibly bright people. Okay, you can choose to believe that if you want, or 98% of them got elected because they were the ones that took the most corporate money. Anyways, bottom line is they have no idea how to do politics. So here's what Buttigieg should have said to Chris Wallace. And don't get me wrong, Chris Wallace's question is perfectly legitimate, okay? Buttigieg should have said, oh, you're right, I misspoke. I said that we'd be creating 19 million jobs with the infrastructure bill. But Chris, I really want your audience to know this. No, all of Biden's programs combined, according to the experts, would create 19 million jobs. The infrastructure bill is slated to create 2.7 million jobs. I don't know if you're asking me to apologize for creating way too many jobs, but that's what we're gonna do. And you can keep on asking it, and I'll tell you all the amazing jobs we're gonna create. We're gonna add 2.7 million jobs, and you're complaining? You're complaining that, the infrastructure bill doesn't create enough jobs? Okay, great, we can add more money to it, we'll create even more jobs, right? Now, when you turn to Fox News, these are the guys who, just a couple of days ago, we're talking about, Keystone Pipeline, Biden ended. That might cost 10,000 jobs. Now they're saying 2.7 million jobs. That's not even as much as Buttigieg promised. It's only 2.7 million jobs. Wait, is 2.7 million lower than 10,000? I know that conservatives have a war on math, so I'm not sure that they could actually add. But yes, for those of you in the reality-based world, 2.7 million is a much larger number than 10,000. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for Democrats to keep pounding their message about how many jobs they're creating. Anna, sorry, one last thing. So Biden, Fox News is right, so we're fair, that Biden's kind of hiding that 900,000 job number because it's such a big, great number. And he's worried that Republicans are gonna use it against them and say, well, you don't need 2 trillion in the infrastructure bill if we're adding so many jobs already. Wrong strategy. Correct strategy is you go do a big press conference, go, damn right I added nearly 1 million jobs. I'm a giant job creator. Good news, I got 19 more million jobs coming in that direction. So I created a lot of jobs now, and I'm gonna create even more jobs later. What now?
Yeah. I mean, Donald Trump took credit for accomplishing things that he didn't even accomplish. And it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter if the very people who are listening to that message were actually harmed by his economic policy. Inequality continued to grow in the country. The rich continued to get richer, the poor kept getting poorer. Blue collar workers were not actually helped by Trump's economic policies. All he cared about was how the stock market was performing. But it didn't matter. He still went on national tours. He kept bragging about how great he is and all the wonderful things he's doing. And somehow that messaging worked. In the case of Joe Biden, I mean, there's none of that. And what's amazing is that he was critical of Obama for not being, braggy enough about his post-recession stimulus bill, which, by the way, there wasn't really much to brag about there. It didn't offer enough economic relief to Americans who had been screwed over by these predatory loans in the lead up to the recession. But nonetheless, it's incredible to see, like the worst politician who very brazenly was looking out for the best interests of the wealthiest people in the country go on these national tours to brag about how wonderful he is, and it worked. And then on the other hand, you have someone who has a decent proposal for infrastructure and creating jobs. And I mean, he just doesn't have it in him. That's not who Biden is.
No, but look, there's a giant mistake that the entire Democratic Party does. It's not just about Biden. They think they're being classy. That's not how politics works.
Let's get past it, guys. Let's get past it, please. It's just so pathetic. Classy? Like, I'm not saying stoop to the level of Trump, but you gotta get dirty and you gotta fight. And I'm not seeing that by corporate Democrats at all. And honestly, choosing someone as inexperienced and clownish as Pete Buttigieg to be the transportation secretary when you wanna roll out this bold infrastructure bill is ridiculous. But that was a mistake that he made, and sure enough, you have this inexperienced former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, bungling interviews on Fox, or bungling interviews, all over the place because he's not the right person for that role. But it doesn't matter, he dropped out of the primary, opening up the path for Joe Biden to win the Democratic primary in the election. So here we are, with absolute weak, clownish behavior by corporate Democrats. Congratulations.
Yeah, politics is about marketing and framing and branding. That's why Trump was so successful, because he would pound the message home until everyone heard it, whether it was true or false. When Democrats are right, they whisper it and then they apologize for it. They're so bad at this. Biden won, and now all the mainstream press pretends as if it was a landslide. He won by 43,000 votes in 3 states. And they nearly lost to Trump twice. They just don't understand politics.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.